Hello, we're live. How's it going? My name's Alex. It's White Whale Comics, and we're here with John for yet another New Comic Book Day book club installment.
Did you put the number 125 on this?
Yeah.
Is that like a legit number?
So I was thinking about this earlier today. So first of all, let me apologize for the janky image for this episode because something happened and I can't find my my layout
template
template for the old logo I'd been using. So I don't know what happened to it, but either my iCloud messed it up or my computer has been out of storage, so maybe it just started deleting stuff on its own. Who knows? What was your question?
Are we legitimately at 125
yes.
of something?
So I've been when I make the thumbnails, I've been labeling them as week whatever. And so I'm not totally sure it's fully accurate, but it's close-ish. So, I mean, it's not like week anymore since we don't do it weekly, but I just kept the labeling for the sake of neatness in my files.
But wow, man.
Yeah.
125?
Yeah, pretty crazy, right?
That's an insane. It just feels like we just started doing this.
Yeah, and we think we'd be better at it by now.
125 though, that's legit. That's legit.
Yeah. If I had paid more attention, maybe we could have had like some sort of to do for the 100th, but again,
that
like
was 2 years ago at this rate.
Yeah, right. No joke. But like I said, I'm not even like confident in that numbering, so it would have been a false celebration.
I mean, it's kind of like when you have a birthday party for a stray pet that you're like, I don't know your birthday. I'm just making this crap up. Like, I don't know how old you are.
You're roughly sometime in April.
A doctor looked at your teeth and said, I think he's 2.
Yeah.
And we were like, we'll go with that.
I mean, just don't throw birthday parties for your animals.
Where's the fun in that?
TJ, what's up? Said, no, it's been a long time. Yeah. So we didn't have a show last month, partially because we're lazy, partially because we didn't have anything we were especially excited to talk about. But mostly the former.
Yeah, the first part definitely was the biggest factor.
So yeah, this we haven't been live on my channel since April.
Hot minute.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be the normal pattern, like every other month?
Yeah. So I mean, right, like we didn't double up on yours, but if we had done it, should have been this month should have been yours.
It's all right.
Yeah, thrilling conversations we have here about the minutia of scheduling a live YouTube show.
We got TJ. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, if there was one person,
loyal from the jump.
Yeah, no kidding.
TJ, do you remember the first book we read? Because I do.
Oh, of course.
Really, just I'm using our time well here. Sorry.
Well, I mean, hey, listen, it's our time. It's my, as I referred to it right before we went live, my barren wasteland of a channel. So we can talk about whatever we want. We don't even have to talk about the comic books we're going to talk about. We can just.
I mean, we usually don't, but
that's not true. We just have trouble with these cold opens because we don't plan or talk about anything beforehand. We're just like, okay, yep, let's go live, see what happens.
Rock and roll is what we, to get them started up.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I remember what the first book was.
It's as exciting as watching Game of Thrones.
Which season?
I think it was Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, it was Ghost Fighter.
Yeah. Started strong.
Yeah, no, we did not like that book. But you know, it really set the tone for what the show was going to become. It was just like, I feel like we kind of pulled some punches that week, maybe that we wouldn't have later.
If we were to read that book again, and it might be a very fun 150th episode, go back and read that issue again.
Read that, read Captain Marvel, read Seven
Pick
Secrets.
the worst of the worst, right?
Yeah. The ones that we really kind of dragged.
I was in my dining room, hardwood floors, and it was Echo all throughout.
Yeah.
And I had like taken comics in their poly bags and like pinned them to the wall behind me with push pins.
Jeez.
And I think some of them were like Edge of Spider-Verse 2. Like legit like, oh, look, key books.
It's
like,
Spider-Gwen. Who cares?
Just push pin to the wall behind you.
Oh, how times have changed.
I was doing something.
Now you got your own name on your wall.
I do. It's right there.
Like
you didn't mean Iron Man, right? I really remember the Captain Marvel one the best. There you go.
I mean, I think not only was that like one of our funniest conversations that had Tony, right?
Tony Sanders, yeah.
Yeah. But like we reference it so much that I think it's become like kind of fabled. So
it's lore.
It is. It's like a running gag.
For me, it's the like countless Guardians of the Galaxy relaunches.
Well, yeah, I think the problem with that is there's so many of them that we can't. They all kind of blend together.
Fact. Yeah.
Speaking of countless relaunches.
Yeah.
So Marvel, as they love to do, relaunched the Hulk again. And I know we've talked about this before, but like I get how it's a marketing thing where like more people are going to buy an issue number 1, but it for like long time collectors, people who've been reading Hulk, like I'm not including myself in this because I'm not like a lifelong Hulk fan, but like, you know, Jeffrey, Comic-Con, you know, like what a pain in the ass it is to just have like to try to organize your collection. There's like so many different series, or Guardians of the Galaxy, Punisher, like basically all of them now, Spider-Man. Yeah. But you know what? Like if it's a necessary evil to keep comics coming out, it's like not the worst thing in the world. It's just not ideal.
What was because for me, like the Hulk is one of those that is like, because of Marvel through the years, I'm okay with the like relaunch thing because it didn't even start as the Incredible Hulk, right? It started as Tales to Astonish, right?
Of Suspense. I don't know.
It was one of those, and then they just at one point they were just like, we're going to flip the name, but we're going to keep the numbering. Like now it's like 102,
right?
But it's really 1. But it's 102.
So, but I mean, like
from the jump, the numbering is screwy,
right? So might as well just not mess with it.
I mean, if the numbers don't make sense, then just start. Just who cares? Just keep going.
I guess. I mean,
do whatever you like at that point.
Doing something like, Astonish. Thank you.
I was trying to look it up, but I got bored.
Yeah. I mean, it's too many. Journey into Mystery, Tales to Suspense, Tales to Astonish. Like, I guess that's all I can think.
Amazing. I mean, there's Amazing Adventures. I got that. I got one of those.
Yeah, I just saw you post that.
Yeah.
I've had mine for years, so.
I need to get the one when he turns blue, which is 15. I need to find that one. So yeah, the number thing doesn't bug me too much on this book. It's the Guardians where it's like, no, just gonna start at 1 again. We're gonna go back to 1. We go to 1 again.
For something like Immortal Hulk, I understood it because that is like very much its own thing.
Absolutely.
And I understand it was the Hulk book and it counts towards legacy numbering, which like what doesn't count towards legacy numbering these days as far as Marvel's concerned? There's like, oh, is Hulk in the book for 1 issue? Yeah, that whole run is legacy numbering.
Is this when we start saying, well, all of X Factor, Uncanny, and X-Men, that's all one legacy numbering system now?
I mean, they probably would do something like that. Because they did
X-Force, New Mutants, just throw them all in. What's up, Jag?
What's up? Thanks for stopping by. I mean, they did some really wonky math to get to Marvel Comics 1000.
That was wackadoo. Yep.
So, I mean, I wouldn't put... This is Legacy 782.
782, yep. Which means we're going to have Hulk 800 here in the next year or two.
Yeah. Or, next 6 months if they find a few more books that they can shove into the Legacy number.
We didn't count all those Marvel team-ups. Let's just throw them
in. So, obviously, after the very well-received Immortal Hulk ended, Donny Cates took over and did his run, which I think we talked about the first issue of that at some point.
Because we had done that and the Venom by Al Ewing at the same time.
Right. That's correct. Right, because they kind of like switched books. We didn't like really either of them very much. Especially
Hulk as a spaceship that you're flying inside of.
Especially coming off of, again, Immortal Hulk, which was really a triumph of storytelling. I mean, he was kind of in a no-win situation, but
Cates' Venom was also, I think, a pretty iconic run as well. So I think both of them had a lot to live up to. Yeah.
But what a sharp left turn from something like Immortal Hulk to something just so goofy and ridiculous, but still strangely trying to be super serious. I don't know. So obviously, I think I read 2 issues and I was like, no, I can't. So I was excited to see what would happen for this new launch. It's Philip Kennedy Johnson is writing it,
and Nick Klein.
Nick Klein is doing the art.
Which, does he do his own inking? Is that what because I don't see an inker listed.
Possibly.
I see a colorist, and a letterer, and that's it. But I don't see any inking. So I'm assuming Nick does his own.
Quite possibly. If it's not listed, I would say it's a safe bet.
Right.
And for better or worse, Philip Kennedy Johnson has decided to kind of latch back on to the horror aspect of Immortal Hulk with this, which I really enjoyed, and I think Hulk as a character lends itself very well to that kind of vibe, because at its core, it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It is a horrific type of superpower. I just am concerned that because what Al Ewing did with Immortal Hulk and it being so good and so kind of transformative, no pun intended, for the character, that, we're just going to kind of see that from now on, whether or not the writers have a real story to tell in that kind of vein, where it's just Hulk's a horror book now. And obviously Donny Cates didn't fall into that trap and that didn't work. But for me, this was head and shoulders above the first issue of the Cates run.
I mean, that's fair. And I had the same reaction reading it that you're mentioning, which is that it feels like Immortal Hulk, the sequel. It does feel to have a ton of connective tissue to what that Al Ewing run was.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that that's a Marvel demand of him. That it was we would love you to do Hulk, and we would love something in that horror world, whatever you want to do. We want to get back to this feel for the book. And they're not dictating what the story is, more just that they want something that's going to be as popular as Immortal Hulk and have that horror vibe.
I'm sure, Donny Cates, especially at the time, was their golden boy. So they're probably just do whatever you want.
Take the money.
He started turning in issues and they're like, ew, boy. You're a horror writer, aren't you, Donnie? Yeah, but I want to write a story about a Hulk spaceship.
I think sometimes when those books have been around as long as these superhero characters often are, they have like iterations, right? You have the World War Hulk, right? You have the Old Man Logan Hulk. You've got the Crossroads Hulk. You got the original Hulk. You got the
Joe Fixit.
Joe Fixit, yeah. And I think Immortal Hulk is now up there with those, right? It's its own thing.
Very much
And
so.
I think it's fun that a writer would have the kudo, the balls, the courage to like tap into a different layer here. But when you swing for the fences, you sometimes strike out.
Yeah. So, I mean, what were your initial thoughts of this issue before we get into the plot?
I really liked the art and line work. I think the horror is, I mean, it's body horror, right?
Yeah,
so even less than the just violent graphic horror of Immortal Hulk. This is definitely like body dysmorphia kind of stuff.
Yeah,
where people are peeling back their flesh and a beast is coming out of them. Versus, I think there was a psychological horror more to Immortal Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of violence, but it was more about the psychological monster inside and the one below all, this idea of like a hell and so that, but this is, there are like characters who legit like rip their flesh and a beast comes out of them. So it's a different kind of horror, I guess you could say, if you are willing to allow for genres within a genre.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think subgenreing is important because
absolutely.
Like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is much different than, The Exorcist or Jaws, which are like all horror movies, but like you could really like Jaws, but just don't have the stomach for something like Texas Chainsaw, or just don't find it entertaining, or whatever the case may be. So I think, it is important. I mean, sometimes people get carried away with like sub genring, but I think like giving a little bit of leeway to saying like, okay, yes, it's a horror movie, but it's this type of horror movie or comic or whatever.
And I think sometimes people can say they don't like a certain genre, and it's because they've just been so overwhelmed by a subgenre. Right. I don't like horror because all I've seen is slasher movies.
Right. Or I don't like country music because all I hear is radio country. But
and I think it's helpful to understand subgenres just because you might realize that there are niches inside of there where you might find something that really appeals to you.
Right.
So I've come to a place in horror where I'm over the slasher thing. It's just lost its interest to me, but I love a good psychological thriller, and I eat those up. And knowing where that line is, can help me avoid the torture porns of the world and focus in on those thrillers where I'm like, damn, that scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, like Dario Argento is much different than John Carpenter.
Exactly.
But if you just call them all horror, it's easy to dismiss the whole genre. So, yeah, I mean,
so
for sure, it is a different horror than Immortal Hulk, but
art-wise, I love the horror elements, and I think Nick Klein really nails that stuff. I think it comes across really well. I don't necessarily like his like faces, his people. I don't appreciate as much, but I do. But I was taken in by the art as much as I was thinking that the story kind of feels like it may have been done before.
Yes, I mean, some of like the human figures are kind of
like Bruce Banner. Ultimately, I think looks weird. Like, I mean, every time I see Bruce as this, like, he looks like the dad from Middle West.
Yeah, and so like, where was it?
Even on the cover, like the version we get on the cover,
or this, where is it? This dude down here walking away. It's just like really stiff and weird. But then you get like these,
like when the beast comes out of that guy.
Yeah,
like that's crazy. Just wild.
There's if I remember correctly, this crazy 2-page, not really splash.
Just going to it.
Holy smokes.
The birth of the Hulk, if you will, is absolute, which is what you're waiting for, right? It's like watching the live action show when I was a kid. You're just waiting for them to turn into the Hulk. Right. That's the moment, right?
I fully forgive his I don't want to say even shortcomings, because like clearly he's a talented artist, but like the things that I don't like as much, I'm willing to forgive because he does what you're buying the book for. He does it so well.
Perfectly said. So yeah, the art won me over the most, and I think as a number one, a setup issue, it did exactly what I needed it to do and made me want to buy issue 2.
Yeah, for sure.
And in that way, I mean, I'm a Philip Kennedy Johnson fan, and I know we've kind of talked around him over this series on this show. I don't know that we've ever done like one of
I
his
don't know.
books.
I don't think so.
I've read a bunch of his Superman or Action Comics, I should say. I've loved the Last Gods, really great series. I think he's just a really talented writer. And I'm definitely willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. If this is a setup issue, I'm not going to hold it to too high a standard, knowing that he's doing the things he needs to do to set it up, even if it feels done before. It's, you know, even if this feels like Last of Us or whatever, where it's like he's gonna take the little girl and take her on a journey and protect her from the evils of the world. Like, I get it. Like, but I'm in for it. Like, it's
Iron Giant.
It sounds like an interesting Hulk story.
Yeah. And I mean, especially, you know, we talked about at the beginning about like Marvel relaunches. We've read plenty of Marvel #1s over the course of this show where they just feel clunky and forced and bogged down. And like for a Marvel #1, this was a breath of fresh air for me.
Even though it started with a flashback and then jumped to the present.
Listen, Pobody's Norfolk, man. But yeah, I mean that is not a as I've documented on the show before, not my favorite way of telling a story. But you know what? You get past those couple pages, and then you just get to actually read the actual story that you're paying for. And no, I mean, you know, I've been very vocally bored with Marvel over the last couple of years. You know, besides like a couple things here and there, Daredevil, Beta Ray Bill. But overall, you know, it's been a bit of a, like, I barely look at the Marvel shelves anymore when I go to pick up my books because I just am not interested in what they're doing. So I was pleasantly surprised with this book. It really, I found it very entertaining.
I agree. And I'm definitely going to get the second issue when it drops, and look forward to seeing where they go with it.
You want to give it a rating?
I would probably go like an 8.5.
Yeah, I was thinking that, like, I would go like probably 8.25, but on the Marvel scale, like a 9. I do want to say something though about Marvel. While we're on the topic, the other Marvel book I bought recently was Ultimate Invasion, which was a pretty cool read, but I would say like the same number of pages as this book. If I had to just guess off just looking at it, and it's $4 more. It's an $8.99 cover price, which is just robbery. Like, it's not a square-bound book. It's not a nice, you know, thick cardstock cover. There's nothing about it other than its importance.
It's an event.
Because it's right. It's Hickman and oh shoot, what the heck is his name? I'm drawing a blank on his name. The guy who drew Ultimates back in the day.
I'm sorry. I was definitely an era where I was not reading comics.
Yeah. And Brian Hitch.
Okay. I have not gone back to read most of that era.
Yeah.
I've read Ultimate Spider-Man because that's just kind of iconic, but that's the only of the Ultimates that I know much about.
The artwork's great. Best Hitch work I've seen in years. And the story was cool. It's just like like I said, it's just stealing from comic fans to charge that much for a book. That is not. I think I counted. It was like 32 pages of story. The book was a bit bigger because it had like the typical Hickman graphic pages, and then there was like 8 pages of sketch work in the back, which were cool to look at, but like it was not. It did not feel like. I have this right here on hand, the Batman Brave and the Bold that came out recently.
Okay.
Which was $7.99, so $1 cheaper, and it's square bound. It's like 70 something pages, maybe 64 pages.
Yikes.
And like all story. Like it's just from it. The last page is literally the end of a story, and it just has the back cover. So there's no like pages and pages of ads or anything.
Right.
So like what my question is, what is Marvel doing? Like how do they think that's sustainable? The people are just gonna not question it, they think?
I don't know. I don't even know like who's buying it because I'm a Hickman fan and I completely walked away from that book.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it is only 4 issues, but it also makes me wonder, like, what are they going to charge for the hardcover when it comes out? Like 4 issues, they're going to charge $60 for it or something. I mean, if I didn't get an employee discount, like I would have never gotten it. But
for me, the turnoff was I don't care about the Ultimate Universe. So bringing back the Ultimate Universe, you're losing a reader right there.
Well, they're bringing it back, but they're trying to meld it into the regular Marvel universe. So it is
whatever.
It will have repercussions that will
stand for all time,
extend throughout all your favorite books.
I mean, ultimately, we just need the maker. You get rid of all those other guys, and you bring Miles with him, sure, but
yeah,
that's all I really know as like valuable in the Ultimate Universe.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is. It focuses on the maker.
I assume.
And of course, Miles is in there too.
I thought Miles was in our universe now. I guess maybe
he is, but
okay.
So is the maker.
So then they don't need that universe. See, you're already done. You've already done your work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're not going to read it, I can tell you what the shtick is.
Sure.
Is that the maker is trying to take Miles with him and recreate the Ultimate Universe.
Just using their dimensional DNA.
Yeah, basically. So like the maker has been confined in this like super Black Ops prison, and he manages to escape, and then Reed is kind of sent to figure out how he escaped and what he's doing, and then the maker goes and talks to Miles and says like, hey, come join me, we're going to do this thing. And at the end he kind of like creates a portal to the other dimension and goes through it.
I thought that dimension wasn't destroyed in Secret Wars or whatever.
It was, so that's why he's trying to like remake it. Meek.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Right.
They also refer to Reed as the smartest man in the universe in it.
A lot of measuring there.
Yeah, right.
How do you quantify that?
I mean, hey, you just say it.
There you go. Done and done.
Because, Earth is the center of the universe. So clearly the smartest person on Earth must be the smartest person in the universe.
I mean, look at how many Green Lanterns we have for our one little dot. We have a ton. There's not that many Green Lanterns out there, and we got almost all of them.
Almost all of them. I mean, I think that's a bit of exaggeration. But yeah, we have like 5 or 6 for one planet.
It's a lot.
And they're basically all in America.
This is true too.
Anyway, so I just felt the need to go on that rant because it really rubbed me the wrong way.
I mean, I respect that for sure.
But I mean, hey, if you can find it in a dollar bin in a couple months, it's worth reading. It was pretty cool.
I'm sure by then it'll be on the app, and I'll just
yeah, or that right way. Yeah. I mean, it's worth reading, but I cannot recommend paying for it. What else you got? What else have you been reading?
On the indie, I guess I don't have anything else really. I mean, on the Marvel side, I guess the only other Marvel thing is I've been working on this the new X-Men omnibus. I just grabbed this. I think it was just last week, and I've already 5 issues in. Trying to read an issue a day through summer. I got a little chat group going on Instagram of people who want to read along or have read it and want to just hear the chat, talk about it, fans of it.
Frank Quietly's lumpy faced X-Men.
Man, I struggle with Frank Quietly. Sorry.
I mean, he's clearly talented, but he yeah, I don't know, his face is.
Well, and sometimes everything looks so flat.
Yeah.
Where it's supposed to be this dynamic Wolverine jumping and slashing, he just looks like a shrinky dink. Just like flat. Only people of a certain generation will know what a shrinky dink is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I struggle with Frank, and then the problem is when Frank gets rotated out early in these issues, who do they put in? Ethan Van Sciver.
What a great guy.
A 1-2 combo that's really rough.
I mean, his art's still nice. I hate to say it, but
it's hard to avoid him in that Green Lantern era. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But that's the only other Marvel thing I've been reading of late, as far as stuff that's new to me. I have a few X books. I'm a little behind on my X reading, the new current stuff. I'm a little bit behind on that.
What about your triple X reading?
Woo! Yeah, saving that. Not for YouTube.
Yeah, that's on my other YouTube channel, John's Comics with Adults.
What's funny is how social media reads you, keeps track of you, and somehow I crossed over into the like spicy reading side of TikTok and Instagram, and I've been sharing the best stuff that's like spicy with Sheena, HK Wifey on Instagram, because she and I seem to have the same like saucy sense of humor on some of these things. So I'm like sending her.
That's why you keep seeing it, because you share them.
Well, yeah. So I found a couple, and then I send them to her, and then she sends them to me, and so now we've started this chain.
Now it's all your For You pages.
So it's hilarious, like the spicy read. It's mostly what I've learned that I didn't realize was
very
like
porn.
This era of young women readers, and by that I mean 20s, 30s,
20-somethings,
40s, yeah, they like saucy, spicy books.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of Instagrammers or TikTokers who are just making videos about how they like their spicy books. And these are some hilarious ladies, like some very funny.
Yeah.
Ladies.
I mean, right. I have a friend who I brought up fairy porn. She reads fairy porn, like unembarrassingly, but
Not
like
no shame.
Recognizes how ridiculous it is.
Yep.
But she's just like, oh, I don't know. I like reading it before bed. It's funny. It's entertaining.
Right. And this is what I'm saying. Like the same,
And there should not be shame around it if that's what you like.
Because it reminds me of when I was in junior high and I was like all into Dragonlance Chronicles and stuff that's like, this is just D&D books. Like Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, not amazing authors, but I was eating that crap up and I would buy each new book and read them all.
Yeah.
And I've tried to go back and read them as an adult and they are just crap. But I was obsessed.
Yeah. Well, when I was maybe 8th or 9th grade, I really got into Piers Anthony for a while, a fantasy writer.
Yeah.
And there was one series which I was like obsessed with. And as 13, 14-year-old, I thought it was a little weird, but didn't think much of it. And then I went back and tried to reread them a couple years ago. And the main character is 15 and the guy is like in his 40s. And they fall in love and go on, like, he takes her to this magical realm. I'm like, nope, I cannot read this now.
Now that Kate's 15.
Yeah.
It's like,
Jesus. Yeah, that major red flags.
Yeah. So, like, my point was that, like,
I mean, they
I
don't
shouldn't
bang
have
till
had
she's older, but
I shouldn't have had shame reading those books, even if they were schlocky and I could just enjoy it.
right.
It's the same with these ladies. It's awesome that they have no shame and they love what they love and they're just into it. And that passion is what I like about it. Like the interest, that the fact that they're like, it's like, Burke talking about Power Rangers or whatever. It's like, you're into it. Like that's
Right.
you. You're into that world. I dig it.
Might not be for me, but I mean, it's not for me.
It's the enthusiasm that
I mean,
that
to be
like,
fair, like I've never
excites.
read spicy fairy porn, so
How can I shame it, right?
maybe it's great.
So anyways, yes, I've crossed over to spicy reading Instagram, but not necessarily actual X reading.
Well, it's only a matter of time now.
Right. Speaking of like nostalgia reads, I did this came out this week. The fourth and final issue of Dungeons and Dragons. David
I mean, just came out today.
That would be sure. Yeah. Let's say that. So yeah, I did finish this. I do think this is the second best issue. The first was my favorite, and this is probably my second favorite. But I was hoping for a big twist ending, and I didn't get it. It's just we'll reset it right back to where they were at the beginning and keep the ball rolling. I was hoping for something that would really like push it and be like, oh, when they do the next storyline, it's going to be buck wild.
Be crazy, yeah.
It just resets it, which is fine. I maybe should not have held it to that standard.
Right, because I mean, I think what they're trying to do with these Saturday morning adventures books is being a little more accessible. So,
and like the show, you tell your story and you're right back to where it ended at the beginning and just go.
You think they're going to get back to home, and nope. Because if they get back home, then story's over.
Right.
So before we went on live, John and I were talking about this briefly because apparently John wasn't really aware of it. Somehow.
I should generally just buy Kirkman issue 1s, but I just have been reading his stuff in trade lately.
Yeah. So the more Kirkman titles I read, the less I really think he's a very good writer. Like clearly he's a very adept businessman, and clearly like he can tell a plot, but so anyway, for those of you who also don't know what this is, I'll be surprised if there's more than one besides John. But spoiler alert, it's probably not a spoiler anymore because everybody knows by now. Kirkman has gotten the rights to Transformers and G.I. Joe for Image and Skybound specifically, I guess. And this is the book that kind of like introduces the shared universe. So there is a Transformers thing in this issue, although it is kind of somewhat shoehorned in because it doesn't seem to have anything to do with the actual plot. So the actual plot is about these two saga-ish rival space alien races that each of their ships crash land on this planet, and they're single person ships. So this one guy and one girl from these kind of warring races land on this planet, seemingly abandoned planet, and both their ships are malfunctioning, and they're immediately trying to start kill each other, blah, blah, blah. He ends up getting the upper hand and doesn't end up killing her and says, hey, listen, if we work together, there's probably enough pieces between our two ships to remake a ship that'll fly. They screw that up and blow that ship up. And then end up finding this dormant transformer on the planet that they think they can scrap from. And it turns out that it is just not, it's just sleeping for seemingly millions of years based on what the Transformer says.
Right?
No, he's an Autobot.
Oh, is it?
Okay. Jetfire. Yeah, he says the wind erosion, based on the wind erosion and the fungal growth on his body, says, but that would mean that I've been stranded here for millions of years. And then he just flies off. He says, "Oh no, I got to go check on Cybertron," and just pieces out. So, and then it goes back to the two aliens story. So really, if you cut that part out, it doesn't change the story, at least to this first issue. And then the big twist reveal. Are you ready? They take off their masks, and they're the same. Who gives a shit?
So there's no Joes?
Not in this.
Oh, man.
But the other thing I mentioned to John before we went live is the new ongoing Transformers series that they're going to put out is going to be written and illustrated by Daniel Warren Johnson. So pretty psyched about that. And
that is pretty cool. And I did see he posted a black and white of like one of the panels or something.
Yeah, probably. So I'm sure we'll probably be talking about that when it comes out.
Seems like a safe bet.
But as far as Void Rivals in itself goes, missed the mark for me. But excited to see what they do with the properties. And then I talked about this briefly to him. The Sickness. It's like a big spec indie book right now, which for me lived up to the hype. Like it is super indie. Like not like, oh, it's an image book. Like this is, like totally DIY. I mean, not DIY literally because it was published, but like it feels very much like a 90s indie title. Like it's all black and white. The artwork is very good, but like very indie looking. The storyline is just like wacky. But I really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to reading some more of that.
Nice.
What's up, JP? Thanks for coming in at some point. So yeah, I mean, I have no idea how many copies were printed of that. I would assume they're probably going to do a second printing based on the spec around it and the hype it's getting now. But at the very least, it'll come out in trade eventually, and I would, based on this first issue, at least I'd recommend checking it out. I thought it was really good.
Would I know the creative team from
No.
that? Okay.
It's Cha, Nadler, Ostmain, like it's like I said, like one step away from an Artist Alley book.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
The cat's not in here, sweetie. She went down the hall. Sorry.
Are you
Yeah. Just go play with Cat and Mom. I know. I got your text, but I'm going to finish my show first, sweetie. She wants more screen time.
Hey, bring her in.
Not this kind of screen time.
Oh,
she wants
to be on her iPad.
There it is. Yeah. On my side, I've been finishing Monarch, Ronnie Barnes's Aliens
I
comic.
need to catch up on it. I've been buying it, but
I'm not loving it. I like it, and I like some of the things it's doing. I do think it's suffering from some of the things we've chided him for as well, where it's like he's just going too fast. He's not slowing down, and nothing is giving it a chance to breathe. It's very breakneck pace.
I mean, I realize that like nowadays some people really like that. Like I've heard a number of critiques about like some shows recently, like Andor, and now Secret Invasion, which I haven't started watching yet, but that it's kind of like a slow burn and that's boring to some people.
Yeah.
Where for me, like that's my preferred pace of telling a story because you can really kind of dig into some themes rather than just like, if you never take your foot off the pedal, then those moments that accelerate don't really ever hit correctly because.
But I mean, if you look at something like Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, you can have both, right? You can have sequences that are at a breakneck pace and sequences that are, because it's all pacing is just necessary to like establish a variety of tone, right?
Especially in a comic where, like, and I've said this a million times, but comics are a timing media. Like they are akin to film in a way where you can tell a story based on the panels and how fast you're moving through it. You can, have a sentence last a whole page over multiple panels, or you can have a full conversation in one panel, and that not only changes how much time you spend reading it, but it changes how much time you experience it happening in.
Yep.
So
So
yeah,
for me, like, this never gives you enough time to breathe in the slower moments, and it feels like it's all just go, 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 go. So as a result, there's no counterweight, right?
and like both can be done really well. Like, the John Wick movies, especially the later ones, are just like, okay, John Wick 3 was just, here's 2 minutes to set up. Now let's have a million action sequences. And I loved the hell out of it because that's what you're going for, right? So, like, I'm not saying that it doesn't have its place, but when you can balance those things like a Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, where those moments of acceleration get you, like, your adrenaline running so much more because it's been this quiet, slow thing, and then all of a sudden people are stabbing each other in the face, and you're like, whoa.
What the hell? Yeah.
But if someone's just stabbing each other in the face for 42 pages, it's like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my beef with Monarch. I don't know that it takes the foot off the gas enough to let other moments breathe. But that's the main ongoing indie that I'm picking up each time versus most of them I've been reading. I'm in trades, and I mentioned that I finally got around to Animal Castle. This is from Ablaze. It's basically a retelling of Animal Farm, an alternative form of Animal Farm, which in the era that we're living there's a lot of value in understanding the relationship between working class and leadership class, right? There's the class warfare and government formats, styles. There's a lot to be learned from the parables that George Orwell was putting out. And I think they do a very effective job in this book of updating it. Because if you've read Animal Farm, you still won't know necessarily what's going to happen here.
That's good.
It's definitely disparate enough that you could really go into it and gain a very different understanding of what's going on. And the art is really strong. So the artist is Felix Delip, and the writer is Xavier Dorison. But I really do think it's. I'll tell you right now, I love this way more than Stray Dog. Get Stray Dogs out of here. I'd rather read more of this. So it feels like a lost. What is the animator for Secret of Nim? Bluth.
Yeah,
like a Don Bluth story. It's his movies always felt like they had stuff that didn't feel like it was for kids. Like it's a little heavier, a little weightier.
For sure. I watched Secret of Nim all the time when I was a kid, and
great book and movie.
Should not be a kid's movie.
And so this feels akin to that. She didn't come in here again, Charlie. Are you chasing her still? Trying to catch the cat. So yeah, I would recommend this. This is the first hardcover. I don't know if there's, I don't think they've released a second one yet. I don't think it's terrible. I just don't like it. I don't think it's entertaining. I don't think it's interesting. And I mean,
that sounds pretty terrible. It's not entertaining or interesting. But those are like the two kind of tent poles you really need to have something be considered good.
But I don't hate it.
Yeah.
It's
okay,
just
that's.
I just think it's bland.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it's not very captivating in any real way.
Her?
Charlie just chased the cat in here, and she's like, I'm going to dart the second you give me a chance. She just doesn't want to be picked up all the time, and Charlie only wants a snuggle buddy. It's a constant back and forth.
That was a it didn't work, but that was a subtle Arrested Development joke. Hi, Charlie.
They just started watching Arrested Development. Charlie's now seen the first couple episodes.
He said bland, so I said her.
Yeah, her. Yeah.
Way to plant, Anne.
Bland. I mean, Anne.
You and Plant over there. She calls it a mayonnaise.
So I haven't even finished the Netflix seasons of that show.
Yeah.
Have you finished them?
Oh yeah.
And
the first one is super weird because of the way they decided to tell the story.
And I stopped right in the middle of it. I never finished.
The one of the last couple episodes that focus on Buster is a home run. The last episode is also really good that ties everything together. And then the following season is back to kind of the old format, and it was good.
Okay.
I mean, nothing's gonna beat like season 2 though.
Right. I mean, it's just that. Yeah. So good.
So
TJ, I would say Captain Marvel is legitimately a terrible. That comic was not good. I mean, it had flaws galore.
It was right. I don't want to use this word problematic because that has weight to it.
Right. It doesn't have any of the like misogyny.
Right, but it was problematic as a comic and storytelling.
Yeah, from a story standpoint,
there were problematic. There were problems and shortcomings abound.
Versus, I think Stray Dogs just suffers from a gimmick. It's a gimmick, and the gimmick is fine. And if some people were really into the gimmick, right? Don Bluth does Silence of the Lambs is basically Stray Dogs. Like that's what it is. And if you are into that and interested in it, fine. I don't think it has the subtle artistry of Don Bluth, and I definitely don't think it has the intensity and power of Silence of the Lambs. So in both of those cases, it's blending it and coming out with something that is subpar.
Of both.
Yeah. Versus, I think this it doesn't elevate George Orwell, but it doesn't need to because Orwell's already way up there. It just reinvents or re-examines it, and I think it's very interesting the way it does it.
Fun white whale fact: one of the first comic books I ever did was a book report on Animal Farm in junior high, where one of the options you had was to make a comic book out of one of the scenes of the book. So I did the scene where like the animals rebel and the horse kicks the guy in the face and kills him, and it was pretty fun.
Yeah, no, I bet it would be a blast.
What was the show we were talking about? We were talking about Arrested Development.
Arrested Development with Jason Bateman and a lot of other people.
Will Arnett,
yeah.
Portia de Rossi and Michael Cera.
Yep.
A number of other people that I'm forgetting.
So yeah, I'd recommend it. I'm gonna get the second hardcover and continue along with it. It does not get to the Revolution. That's how slow the pacing is for this. It's still on the workers trying to speak to the management and make them understand their grievances, and the management being incredibly resistant to that.
Yeah. Down with capitalism.
There's definitely some of that to be had for sure. But you get the cruel dictator commentary going on here because the ruling class is definitely taking hard advantage of the working class.
The Richard Tater.
I don't know what that means.
Dictator.
Okay, sorry.
Well, I don't think we're gonna
should have known.
We're not going to do better than that. So, do you have anything you want to plug?
Let's see. Oh, well, I got some more books, but I'm going to just throw them in. This is very entertaining. Nightwing fans know Bruno Redondo and Tom Taylor are going to try it to be inventive, and the first-person shooter comic book was quite entertaining for what it was.
Right. So, I mean, obviously, a lot of books are told from a quote-unquote first-person perspective because they're narrated or whatever, but this is through the eyes of Nightwing.
Exactly. And
so
it's
literally
effective.
A first person.
And they use that gimmick really well.
Yeah.
They definitely milk it for what it's worth. I've also been reading Taylor's Titans. And I thought this second issue was really good and almost my read of the week. It was really entertaining.
Wow.
They use the characters really well. Donna Troy gets a great role in this. And the twist of has the Flash been murdered? All that stuff really well done. So I'm excited for the future of Titans.
Nice.
That's it. Now I'm done.
Okay.
As far as upcoming on the channel, I'm going to try to make some shorts about.
Since we're interrupting each other.
Yeah.
I started reading Shazam, the Mark Waid, Dan Mora run.
When did that start up?
Issue 2 just came out a couple weeks ago, so it's still pretty recent.
I love Dan Mora's art.
Kind of a fun setup. The B covers are by Chris Samnee, which I love. So yeah, I mean, it's a setup issue, so I have to read issue 2 before I really kind of give it my stamp of approval. But I mean, they're both creators that I like, and it was an entertaining read. So.
And I've been enjoying Dan Mora's work on and Mark Waid, obviously, on Brave and the Bold that they've been doing. That series has been great. Just a classic old school comic style.
What's up, Brother John? And what's up, Orican? Yeah, I mean, I was saying this the other day. Mark Waid has been in the comic game for so long and still puts out quality work. There are a few writers that you can say that about.
Right. Sorry, World's Finest. Yeah, not Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, I agree. His Daredevil run, great stuff. Yeah. And I loved his Justice League run when he moved over to DC. That was a great run.
The issues he did on Captain America right around issue 700. Did like a few issues there. They're all dynamite. It's just like, when some writers can't even last a year or two writing quality stuff, and he's been 40 years, 30, 40 years, something like that. So shout out to Mark Waid, man.
Heck yeah. Absolutely. And really nice guy at cons if you get a chance to talk to him.
For sure.
Really, really nice.
Okay. So anyway, back to what you wanted to plug.
I got two things I'm working on right now. I'm making some shorts and some reels on Instagram, some shorts here centered on one issue at a time, working my way through New X-Men. So I'm going to, as I finish this omnibus over the summer, I'm going to make a lot of little videos on it. You can look for those. And I'm putting together a crew for Ted Lasso Talking. So I got like 5 different themes from Ted Lasso that I want to get into. And I got a few people to kind of like hopefully schedule in to just sit down and talk about given themes, kind of like I did for The Wire or Lost before that. So definitely going to be doing some time over the summer and maybe into the fall talking about Ted Lasso and what a freaking great show it is.
Yeah, one of the best right now. Borican, who's writing the new Hulk, it is Philip Kennedy Johnson, and he did I think, pretty great job on the source issue.
Yes. If you didn't pick it up, I recommend it. I think
for sure. It's worth buying. Cool. Well, that sounds fun. Look forward to that. Yeah, JP's excited.
Have you finished the show? Have you finished the 3rd season?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. No, I watched it as it was coming out.
Good. Yes.
Yeah. No, it was
well, maybe I got to get you in there if you're interested.
Well, thanks for thinking on me, but a little too late, I think.
What do you mean too late? I haven't even started making these shows yet.
Yeah, you just said, I got people lined up for the different themes.
I got some people.
I'll talk about Ted Lasso.
I haven't even started scheduling them. Who knows what's going to happen with these? You know how this goes.
Yeah, you should, not to make you rewatch the show, but if you watch the beginning, we kind of dunk on Donny Cates's run quite a bit before we talked about this. So yeah, his listen, not for me. I talked to some people who enjoyed it. That's great. Donny Cates does a lot of good work. Just missed the ball on that run for me. And I mean, to be fair, I didn't read the whole thing. I gave up after issue 2 just because I could tell it was not something that was grabbing my interest, but I'm probably not going to go back and read the whole thing now because
I haven't even gotten around to reading his Thor yet. So that's how far back on Donnie I am.
Cool. Well, we got D&D on JP's channel on Sundays, most Sundays. And theoretically, I'll be doing Usagi Volume 7 with him and Geek Aficionado and Cthulhu. I always have trouble pronouncing his name correctly. So at some point, we're going to do that again.
You guys are still in the like pre-IDW era, right?
Oh yeah, no, we're still in the. As far as I know, we are only planning on doing like the original run. I don't know what JP has in mind, but I thought that was the plan. So yeah, I don't know if this is the last or second to last volume. That I can't remember. I mean, might not. There might be 2, 3 more for all I know. It's so good. I mean, yeah, we had another last minute cancellation. It was supposed to be last week, or 2 weeks ago. So he says if we get it scheduled, we're moving forward even with late cancellation. So
it's tricky.
There you go. If you see on JP's Instagram a posting about an episode of Usagi, even if it's just him talking about it, apparently it's moving forward.
There you go.
Oh, this is the last volume. Okay.
This is the end.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna sign off because it's late here and I gotta go to bed to go work with more comics tomorrow. It's exhausting. Leave work and have to come and talk comics with you.
It's painful.
Hey, Bearded, thanks for stopping in. All right. Always late. Yeah, you could literally not be any later because we are going to say, never turn your back on the ocean. Bye.